Welcome to Podcast Suck, a podcast about starting up, where we dive headfirst into the wild, wacky, and sometimes frustrating world of podcasting. If you've ever sat down with a microphone, hit record and thought, what on earth am I doing? Or if you're just curious about the magic behind your favorite shows, then you're in the right place. Get ready for laughs, insights, and a whole lot of what not to do advice as we embark on this podcasting journey together. Let's dive in. All right, there we go. A couple technical difficulties. Our new intro in here for the live stream and cast of the recording of Podcast Suck. Another brand new episode. For those of you just joining us, we go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube to record the episodes for Podcast Suck. This is in no stretch of the imagination a video podcast because, well, those things don't even exist. I don't care how overly populated or popular that word is becoming. This is an audio podcast. There is a video component to the podcast, which allows us to go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. We also take the content from the episode and repurpose it to share on socials so more people find out about the show. Hope everyone's doing great today. If you're tuning in live, what's up? Drop us a comment. If you are listening to the podcast, appreciate you taking some time out of your day to let me crawl all up in your earbuds for just a few minutes and help you better understand what you don't know that you don't know about the world of podcasting. Today's episode, should I start a podcast? My immediate response every time I'm asked that is, I don't know. Should you? I think that figuring out whether or not you should do something is a one-player game. Now, we can have some influence from those around us, family, friends, people we do business with, mentors, coaches, etc. People that help us identify blind spots, if you will. Blind spots are those areas that we just don't see. It's kind of like in a car. When you look back and you're about to back up or parallel park, there's that blind spot. These days, you got 360 cameras in these cars they're making these days. My car has a camera kind of everywhere, and I'm able to back into stuff. No, I'm totally kidding. But people in our life help us identify blind spots. But I think when you're figuring out what your next move is, doing your next thing, whatever that is, that's a one-player game. That takes some introspection. Is that the word? Yeah. That takes some deep thought and going inside ourselves a little bit and saying, hey, what's my next move? Now, if you're a business owner, starting a podcast is a no-brainer, and that's really who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to hobbyists or people that kind of want to start a podcast because, well, it'd be fun. Me and my girlfriends are really fun when we drink wine and have conversations. No, you're not. That's a terrible for a podcast. Or, maybe you want to start something because you like widgets of some sort or sports or whatever it may be. That's totally cool. But I think that you need to have a good, solid reasoning behind it, and you need to have a way to monetize it. And if you've got a business, having a podcast allows you to build relationships, network with anybody that you want, and also increase sales and generate more revenue. Why? Well, hopefully you're structuring your podcast strategy in such a manner that you are interviewing people that you want to do business with, interviewing people that are in your pipeline, interviewing people that are your prospects. This day and age, when you're at a networking event, if someone asks me for my business card, I immediately disqualify them because I don't carry business cards. It's 2025. I do have a QR code that'll scan and go right to where you can send me your information and I'll follow up with you. And I've also got the ability to connect with you on LinkedIn and on socials in real time. I've also got the ability to take out my phone, and you do too. Most people run their lives on their calendar, or at least they should. And if you want to meet and we're local, or we're going to do a call someplace else at an event, then let's just take our phones out, find out our availability over the next couple of weeks, and let's just lock it down right here. And then maybe I'll screenshot it or screenshot your LinkedIn profile. I've been doing a lot of that lately. Connect with the person on LinkedIn, screenshot a picture of it when I get back. Those are all the people that I want to follow up with, or keep a running notepad of people that I've met, connect with them on LinkedIn, etc. But my point with this is that if I meet you at an event and you mention that you want to start a podcast and you'd love to have a conversation, number one, I'm going to send you a link to book a call with me right then and there, or we're just going to book the call. And I'm also going to invite you to be on my podcast. Why? Because I don't want to just schedule a sales call with you. We can do that. But I'd first to get you on the podcast. And then once we're done talking and doing the interview for the podcast, then we can have a conversation about what's possible with you starting a podcast. So I continue to get asked the question, have for the past decade now, should I start a podcast? And I reply, I don't know. Should you? But if you own a business, it's an absolute no-brainer. There's 3 reasons that you want to start a podcast as a business owner. Number one, to network with anybody that you want, increase sales, grow your business because of the podcast. Reason number 2, get your social media content game in check and consistent because of the podcast. I'm recording this podcast live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. My team will take the video archive of this live stream, chop it up into clips and reels for me to post on a daily basis, Instagram and TikTok and Shorts and everywhere else you should be hanging out, because, by the way, that's where the attention is. It's where the eyeballs are. So repurposing content solves a majority of your social media content problems, because let's face it, you probably suck at your daily, consistent social media game. That can all change because of the podcast. Lastly, it makes you a better communicator. Well, I'm scared to public speaking. I don't like being on camera. I don't like the sound of my voice. All that inner critic. It eventually gets silenced. Well, what do you mean? If you interview somebody, you build a relationship with them, and then they become a client or customer, you aren't going to give 3 fiddling rips about your inner critic or what you think you sound like or look like or D all of the above. See this little sign right here? If you're watching the live stream, I'll read it to you if you listen to the podcast. My good friend, Hugh McLeod, a.k.a. Gaping Void, it says, you can't read the label of the jar you're in. Isn't that the truth? You don't see what I see. You don't hear what I hear. And that's all that matters. Perception is reality for most people. So that third benefit of why you should start a podcast, well, there it is. Makes you a better communicator. It shuts that inner critic up. It's a liar. It's not even real. It's your own BS story of what you think is real. Unfortunately, some people live their lives according to that. I'm trying to change all that. Those are the 3 reasons that you want to start a podcast. I recently was figuring out what we were going to do on a lead generation and marketing front for 2025. Right now, it's my speaking, it's my content, it's my podcast, it's God, it's referrals. We also dabble in some marketing as well in addition to that, but it's very organic. So my good friend Ryan Stewman, a.k.a. the Hardcore Closer, decided to create a closer IQ test. He's big in the world of sales, hence his nickname, the Hardcore Closer. Runs a big, gigantic group called Sales Talk for Sales Pros here on Facebook. It's got 120,000 members in it. It's a brilliant strategy. He started that, 8 or 9 years ago. It's grown it to 120,000 members. He posts in there and then sends his team to go in there and find people that are in that group and recruit them into Apex, which is the mastermind that I've been part of for the past 4 years. Anyway, long story short, he created a closer IQ test. What is your IQ as a sales closer? A lot of salespeople out there. People probably want to know what it is. By the way, I'll drop a link in the show notes to the closer IQ test so you can check that out. It was a brilliant strategy, but I thought to myself, wait a second. Maybe I can create some sort of test or quiz or something of that nature to help people, number one, better understand whether or not they should start a podcast, but number two, probably a good lead gen, or at least opportunity. Yeah, lead gen. That's exactly what it is. The opportunity to get people in my ecosystem that I don't currently know. So I came up with a should I start a podcast? Link is in this post. Side note, before I get too sidetracked here, closeriqtest.com is the IQ test. Brilliantly put, and it's got scoring, and it tells you if you suck at sales or what you need to improve on. Way more extensive than my quiz, but my quiz still gets the job done. Very proud of my quiz. I created it all on my own. It was not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination, but that link is in the show notes of this episode. If you're listening to the podcast episode, if you're watching the live stream, it's in the caption of the post on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It's podcastquiz.online. Yes, that's an extension for a domain name. Go through the quiz. It's 10 simple questions. It's going to score you. It's going to tell you immediately yes or no, you should start a podcast. And then you're going to hear from me from time to time, following up with you and giving you some tidbits that you may or may not know about why you should be starting a podcast, with a call to action to book a call with myself or somebody on my team to chat about what's possible with us helping you make a podcast a reality. So again, podcastquiz.online. Go ahead and take it and find out whether or not you are a good fit to start a podcast. I don't know how many people have taken the quiz so far. Did I mention that headphone cords are the most incredibly annoying part of the podcast world? I'm thinking maybe I need to get some studio headphones that have the cord that's coiled. Maybe that'll do it, because this thing is just constantly, you can't see it if you're listening to the podcast, but if you're watching the live stream, this cord is just constantly everywhere. We're working through it. I try to sit on it. I try to put it back behind me. I put it down my shirt before, and then it still gets tangled. Anyway, rant over about the headphone cord. But I do want to point out that if you press play on this episode, or you press play on the live stream, and you're watching this or listening to this right now, there is a reason for that. There are no mistakes. Tony Robbins says life is a guided journey of lessons, and I firmly believe that. So maybe, just maybe, I want to invite you to consider the idea that you tuned into this episode because you should, in fact, be starting a podcast. So if that's the case, holler at your boy. Slide into my DM, send me a message over on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, comment below on YouTube on this video, wherever you hang out, and let's chat about what's possible. You hear me say this often, and I'll continue to say it until the day I die, and that is, who's missing out? Because you're not showing up. And a podcast could very well be the area that you're not showing up, and because of that, someone is missing out. And to me, that's a problem. So what can you do to change that? Massive action solves a lot of life's problems. Taking massive action on doing the things that we know we should be doing often solve the biggest challenges and problems, air quotes, problems that we have in life and or in business. So that's all I got for you today for today's episode. I like to keep these episodes short and sweet, well under 15 minutes. Sometimes I don't do that. I go well over that. I go on a little bit of a rant. But today, we're going to keep it nice, short, and sweet. I want to clarify, if you've ever asked yourself, should I start a podcast? Yes, you should. If you're a business owner, it's a no-brainer. If you're still unsure, take my quiz, find out, book a call with us. Let's chat about what's possible. But for the love of all things podcasting, give this a fair shot because it's shown up on your radar. Okay? Stop with the nonsense. I'm going to start in Q2 at the end of Q3. when money ain't funny, when cows no longer moo, the sun doesn't shine, blah, blah, blah. Just stop your ridiculous BS story. As my coach and the very brilliant Dan Martell says, you're just lying to yourself. So knock it off. Hope this episode encourages you. Questions, thoughts, ideas, concerns about this episode or any episodes on the show, please do hit me up, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you hang out online. Send me a message. Say, hey, I was listening to this episode. I have a question about this. I am here to help. Until next time, friends, start a podcast. It'll radically change your life and your business. I'm Living Proof.